Hello everyone. Today's video discussion is on the subject matter of the redefined Form 1040. Many of you may not be aware that the 1040 long form has been redefined, revised, and in a drastic way. Now, supposedly the reason for the change in the form was to simplify the 1040 filing experience. So basically what has been done is, instead of the Form 1040 being 2 full pages, the new Form 1040 is now 2 half pages. And the reason for this is because certain information has been extracted off the form and incorporated into various schedules. And those various schedules are either schedules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Now, I will explain the schedules a little bit later in the video, but know that in addition to the form, the new 1040 form, you may have to attach one of those new schedules, and it depends on if you have any deductions that are applicable to either of those schedules. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about how they came up with the design. Basically, they compared the Form 1040, the long form, the Form 1040EZ, and the Form 1040A, and their goal was to simplify the experience. So I guess they came up with the new form and they extracted, again, certain information that's reportable on these various schedules. So what they're doing, or at least what the IRS is saying that they're doing, is the 2018 Form 1040 uses a quote-unquote building block approach, so the federal tax return could be reduced to a single simple form. Now, taxpayers can supplement this form with the new schedules if needed, and those are the schedules 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 that I mentioned a few minutes ago. And again, I will discuss those schedules a little bit later in the video. But what I want to do right now is go over the new Form 1040 to give you an idea, or to let you know what information is reported where on the form. Now, okay, before I lose my glasses, let me fix those. Okay, on page 1 of the form, of course, your filing status, your standard deduction, that's whether you can be claimed by someone else, whether you are blind, or if you were born before January 2nd, 1954. Now, in addition to the first page, there is a box relating to the full year health care coverage. Now, on the previous Form 1040, this information was reported on page 2 of the form. So generally, page 1 of the new Form 1040 requires you to report your filing status, your identification information, name, social security number, address, dependent information, and then there's a signature line for you, and then a signature line for the paid preparer. And that's it for page 1 of the Form 1040. So now page 2 of the Form 1040 has 23 lines. And I will go over each of those lines so that you will know what information is reported where. Now, of course, if you're going to self-prepare your return using tax software, the information that you plug into the software is going to automatically input the information or transfer the information on the form where it should go, providing that you input the information correctly. Okay, so as for page 2 of the new Form 1040, line 1, wages, salaries, and tips. Line 2A, tax-exempt interest. 2B, taxable interest. 3A, qualified dividends. 3B, ordinary dividends. 4A, IRS pensions and annuities. 4B, the taxable amount of those IRS pensions or annuities. 5A, Social Security benefit amount. 5B, the taxable amount of Social Security if applicable. Line number 6, that is where your total income is going to be reported. You add lines 1 through 5, and then you also add any amount from Schedule 1, line 22. And Schedule 1 is one of those new forms that's applicable to this new Form 1040. Line number 7, adjusted gross income, your AGI. Line number 8, your standard deduction or itemized deduction amount is shown on line 8. Now, if you're itemizing, you would use the Schedule A. Line 9, qualified business income deduction, QBI. That's that 20% deduction that's applicable to Section 199A that was born as a result of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that is applicable to qualified pass-through entities. Line 10, your taxable income. You're subtracting lines 8 and 9 from line 7. Line 11A is the tax for the taxable income. 11B, you add any amount from Schedule 2 and you check the box that's on line 11B. 12A, the child tax credit or credit for other dependents. 12B, you add any amount from Schedule 3 and you check the box on line 12. Line 13, you subtract line 12 from 11. Line 14, other taxes. This information comes from the Schedule 4, which again is one of those new schedules applicable to the new Form 1040. Line 15, that's your total tax. You're adding lines 13 and 14. Line 16, federal income tax withheld from Form W-2 and 1099. Line 17, refundable credits. 17A is the EIC, earned income credit amount. 17B is the Schedule 8812. That's the additional the additional child tax credit. And 17C is Form 8863, which is education credits. Line 18, you add lines 16 and 17, and that would be your total amount of your payments. Lines 19 through 21 refer to the refund section. There, it's the same as the previous form. You enter the amount that's going to be refunded to you or your bank account information. And line 22, if you owe, the amount that you owe is going to be reflected on line 22. And line 23 is the estimated tax penalty amount. Now, that's it for page 2 of the form. So, what happened to all of the other information? Again, that information from the previous Form 1040 was extracted and set aside or categorized on each of the different schedules. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss those schedules so that you will have an idea as to what information is reported on what schedule. Okay, so Schedule 1, titled Additional Income and Adjustments to Income. So taxpayers use this schedule to report items such as capital gains, unemployment compensation, prize or award money, gambling winnings, or to claim deductions such as student loan interest deduction, self-employment tax, and educator expenses. Schedule 2, titled Tax. Taxpayers will use this schedule to report amounts they owe for alternative minimum tax, AMT, or when they need to make an excess advance premium tax credit repayment. Schedule 3, non-refundable credits. Taxpayers will use this schedule to claim a non-refundable credit other than the child tax credit or the credit for other dependents, such as the foreign tax credit, education credits, or general business credit. Schedule 4, titled Other Taxes. Taxpayers will use this schedule to report other taxes they owe and must pay, such as self-employment tax, household employment taxes, additional tax on IRAs or other qualified retirement plans, and tax-favored accounts. Schedule 5, titled Other Payments and Refundable Credits. Taxpayers will use this schedule to claim a refundable credit other than the Earned Income Credit, American Opportunity Credit, or additional child tax credit, or have other payments such as an amount paid with a request for an extension to file or excess Social Security tax withheld. You will also report estimated tax payments on Schedule 5 as well. Schedule 6, Foreign Address and Third-Party Designee. Taxpayers who have a foreign address or third-party designee other than a paid preparer, they would use this schedule to report this information. So basically, that's the information for the new schedules for the new Form 1040. And again, certain information is reported on each of those schedules. So if a particular schedule does not apply to you, you don't need to complete that schedule. And basically, if you're using tax software, after you plug in the information, the tax software is going to plug the information into the applicable form, and from that form, that information is going to be transferred to the new Form 1040 if applicable. So if certain deductions do not apply to you, you don't necessarily need to complete that schedule. But again, using tax software, you're not going to have to manually complete these schedules anyway. It's basically like the interview section of the tax software. You know how it asks different questions. You plug in the information, and supposedly the tax software will plug the information into the applicable schedule, which will then plug the information in the applicable section on the new Form 1040. So that pretty much concludes my discussion on the new Form 1040, and I hope that the information that I have provided to you here has been beneficial to you. And as always, my goal is to help you make your life a little less taxing. Thank you so much for listening.